Hi all, welcome to Jay's Talk. Today, I'm going to discuss about 9 tips that will help you score very high marks in board examinations as well as university examinations. Nowadays, children are on the heat of examinations. Examinations are impending. In 2 months or 3 months, children would be facing examinations. Board examinations, CBSE examinations, ICC examinations, university examinations, etc. Everyone is on the heat of examinations. Right away, I would like to discuss with you 9 very important tips that will help you score very high marks in board examinations. The first one is practice active recall. Recalling plays a vital role in scoring excellent marks. There is a wrong conception in the minds of the children that repeated study always would bring marks. It's a wrong conception. A recall would play a vital role in scoring good marks, and also written concepts or ideas in our minds. Recalling means a repeated thinking. It doesn't require any particular time or any particular space as such. For example, you study something, you can do revision without textbooks while you take baths, while you come to school by school bus, while you eat food, or 10 or 15 minutes before you sleep. Even when you play, you can revise. This is very active revision. This is very active recall. So whatever you studied should be retained in the brain. Only then you can produce and reproduce by the time you write examination. For example, you study 2 hours in the evening and you go for taking baths. While you take bath, you just revise. This is also called interstice. There will be time gap in between 2 activities. For example, after taking baths, you go for taking food. There will be a gap of 10 minutes or 15 minutes between these 2 activities. The time after taking baths and the time before you take food, minimum 10 to 15 minutes. These 15 minutes could be used for recalling. Doesn't mean that you have to sit idly at a place to recall it. While you dress up for food, you can recollect and recall whatever you studied. This kind of industries must be properly used for recalling whatever you studied. For example, minimum a child would be using an hour for getting to school and being back to school, being back to home in the evening. Minimum half an hour or 1 hour, or some cases 2 hours a child would be spending in the bus. As you travel in the bus in the evening, whatever you studied that day, you can recall, you can recollect. This is one of the best ways of recalling. This is one of the best ways of revision. This will help you retain information in the brain. The same could be reproduced by the time you write the examination. The second important thing is a regular exercise. You need not necessarily do heavy exercise that will weaken your body when you prepare for examinations. Mild exercises would be helping you quite a lot to study well. For example, you can practice Surya Namaskar. You can go for a mild walking. Likewise, little exercises would be helping you quite a lot to retain whatever you studied. You might be thinking, what's the connect between exercise and what you study? As you do exercise, loads of blood flow would be occurring in your brain. As a result, the brain would be remaining so active, so energetic. It would be in a receptive mode. Whatever you study, it can retain in your brain. It wouldn't be tired at all. You know very well that energy is being carried to each and every cell of your body through blood. Unless there is proper blood circulation in the brain wouldn't get sufficient food. Brain wouldn't get sufficient glucose. Brain wouldn't get sufficient energy. As a result, you cannot retain whatever you study, or else tiredness will inflict you. So do regular exercise. And the third tip is mind mapping. The specialty of the brain is that keeping concepts in the brain is very difficult. Whereas if it is in the form of a picture, for brain it's very easy to retain in its brain. For example, whatever you study, make a map of it, like a flow chart, like a graph. Write something and make a line, again second point, third point, or else make a picture, something likewise. Picturize. It's very simple that the concept should be changed into a picture, like a map, like a flow chart, or else any picture which you like it. So mind loves, or the brain loves so much picture. Concepts, in fact, brain hates, because it's just like an idea, which is very difficult for the brain to keep in it. Whereas in the form of picture, in the form of emotion picture, for the brain it's very easy. That's the reason if you watch a film, we would never forget the story of it. Whereas whatever your teacher teaches, you might forget, especially the concepts. So make mind mapping. After you study it, reduce the concepts into small bulletin points. Those points, you just write it down in the form of a flow chart, or else map different techniques or the pictures. As a result, it will be rather easy for the brain to keep or retain these concepts in the brain. The next one is, that is fourth one, is Pomodoro technique. It's a Japanese technique which can very well applied in our studies. This is very simple, that 25 minutes use your time for study. Take a break for 5 minutes. You relax, cool. Then again you start studying. These Pomodoro techniques, which is very well being or successfully being used in Japan, could be used in India among our children too, so that study would be very easier. Otherwise, brain would be so tired. You know very well that as we study, it requires so much of energy. If you do whatever the hard work, you wouldn't be as tired as you study. But actively, if you study for 20 minutes, your body would be damn tired. So 25 minutes you study, take a break for 5 minutes, again you study, and again you take a break for 5 minutes. It's called Pomodoro techniques, being used in Japan. And the fifth one is active space repetition. Active space repetition. It is very simple that whatever you study in 2 hours, you spread it for 3 days or 4 days. Study a little bit today, morning, and evening, the remaining follow-up of that. Tomorrow, little more. Likewise, 2 or whatever you could study in 2 hours, you spread it into 2 or 3 days. If you follow this technique, the retention power of your brain about which what you studied would be rather easier. So apply this spaced study instead of cramped study within a short span of time, whatever you study, or instead of straining your brain, take a wider gap, 2 days or 3 days. Study a little bit today, the next day, third day, different topics. So this spanned study will help you retain whatever you studied. And the sixth one is mindfulness or meditation. Mindfulness is very important. The presence of mind, the peace of mind, or the aim of your study is very important. You have to keep in your mind, if you study for just marks, it would be rather difficult to score marks. You have to have a sublime target to achieve. Suppose a student who is preparing for grade 10 board examination or its grade 12 board examination, and your sole aim is to score very high mark in grade 10. It's very difficult for the brain to support you. Whereas if your target, your ultimate target is sublime, something unique, then brain would support you. Suppose your aim is to become a cardiologist, a renowned, a very famous cardiologist, for which you study in grade 10. Then study would be so interesting. Study would be so rewardful. You will get excellent mark in grade 10, 12 or in university examination, whatever the examination, because your target, your aim and your goal is very high. It's something unique. It's something sublime. As a result, the brain will support you quite a lot. As a car is having different modes. If you keep your car in an economy mode and drive, the nature of the car would be quite different. The car would be so mild. The sound of the car would be so mild and meek. The engine vibration would be so mild and meek. Whereas if you keep the knob of your car into sports mode or sports plus mode, the nature of the car would be undergoing a tremendous change. The car would be ready for a leap. The engine would be vibrating. The sound of the car would be different. On the instrument cluster, the color, the display color would be red. Everything, the nature of the car would be ready for a leap, ready for a fast movement. Likewise, if a target is very high, your attitude, your mentality, the nature of your body would be automatically different. It will be in high receptive mode, so that study would be rather easy. For which, keep a sublime goal or target or set such a sublime goal in your brain and study for that. I want to become a renowned engineer. I want to become a renowned doctor. That must be your aim, for which you have to study in grade 10 or grade 12. As a result, your body would be so receptive, your body would be so energetic and enthusiastic and zealous. Study would be rather interesting, it would be rather rewardful. And the next one is use different study techniques. This is called mnemonics. In a separate video, I will explain different techniques of study, and thus you could retain the information in the brain. For example, the simplest example is that you study 10 concepts. These 10 concepts bring into 10 bullet points or 10 words. Take the first letter of the series of words and make an acronym. For example, WebGear, the number of colors in sunlight. If you pass the sunlight through a prism, you will get 7 colors. There is a technique to remember these 7 colors. If you simply keep violet, indigo, blue, and all, sometimes you may get confused. But you convert the first letter of these 7 colors and make a new word and keep it in your brain, you will never forget. For example, WebGear. If you remember the word WebGear, it's easy to remember the 7 colors in sunlight. V stands for violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. The first letter of these 7 colors, I took it and made a word WebGear. So if you remember the WebGear and if you give that prompt to your brain, V, brain would tell you it is WebGear. I, brain will tell you it's indigo. G, the word if you give, the brain will tell you it's green. Y, brain would say it is yellow. Brain has got such a great capacity. Provided you give a prompt, it would give you the answer. In one of the videos, I told you that once you heard something, once you learned something, once you saw something, you would never forget. People would say, I have forgetfulness, I forgot. You would never forget. The problem is with retrieval. You stored everything in the brain, but you're not able to take it back. That is the issue. So this acronym, these mnemonic techniques like acronym, visualization, etc., will help you. These all are the prompts that will help you retrieve what you learned. In another video, separately, I will discuss about different mnemonic techniques that will help you retain the information or the points what you studied. And the next one, eighth one, is adequate sleep. Sleep is very important. Minimum you have to sleep 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours a day. It's never a loss. You have to keep in your mind, if you don't sleep properly, you will be the loser. Unless otherwise you get ample and a proper sleep and a deep sleep and a sound sleep, your brain cell cannot be retrieved, cannot be recovered. The more you study, your brain will be so tired. Then you have to sleep well to recover the cells of your body. The damaged part is not actually damaged. The tiredness of the brain could be recovered only through proper sleep, so that your retention power of what you studied would be very high, as well as the receptibility or the receptiveness of the brain also would be rather high. When you start studying the next day, your brain would be in a receptive mode. And the ninth, the last one, is proper diet. The previous video, I told you the importance of taking proteinaceous foods, nutritious foods, which is full of minerals and essential antioxidants, energizers, protein, amino acids, healthy fat, fatty acids, omega fat, extra. So select or else have a healthy diet that will help you study well. Minimum 30 to 40% of the study would be easier if you follow a proper diet. In the previous video, I very clearly discussed the food step that will help you score high marks, that will help you study well, that would help you understand difficult concepts, etc. Right away, I sign out. I wish each and every student who has been preparing for board examinations, university examinations, CBSE examination, ICSE examination, IB examination, IG examination, etc. Have a great day. Thank you.